And welcome back, everybody, to Football Happy Hour presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, well, I guess not always. The last 2 weeks, Randy Moss in Oakland just took plays off. But I'm back here, the cartoon there in the bottom left. You see my buddy Jack Bourgeois right above me. Next to him, Cody Mayo. And then sad face over to my side there. Countryman not with us tonight. A little under the weather. So best wishes to you, Roy. Hope you get to feeling better, buddy. We miss you. So, Jack, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It seems like this whole sickness has actually been a rotation, even though we're nowhere near each other.
Yeah, you would think that we like live in the same house or something. No, many miles away from each other. Yeah, 4 different states, 4 different dudes. Cody, how are you tonight, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. It sucks we don't have our man Roy here tonight, but I'm happy to be back. It was weird not doing the show last week,
right?
With that Tuesday night game. It kind of threw off my schedule, but like today I woke up, I was like, all right, now I'm on a normal schedule. Like let's. I know the NFL wants to get through the season, but let's kind of stick to the schedule just because I'm greedy like that.
Yeah, I got shit to do, NFL. So yeah, it's definitely sad that Roy's not here with us. Heaven forbid we need to know any obscure athlete's name. We're gonna have to Google that with Roy not here now. So.
We'll just likely butcher it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just take a non-educated, semi-educated guess is how I'll go with it. So we're going to do it like we do every time. We are going to hit you with 4 quarters. Then we got an overtime because there's nothing better than a little bit of extra time with your buds. And, of course, let's jump into quarter 1 where the big news on the week – it seemed, is Tua being named the starting quarterback for Miami Dolphins after starting 3-3 with Fitz. Technically, he did get into that last game. What was it, like a whole 15 plays or something silly? It was something small. But that picture afterwards was great. I do want to say that. Whoever took that picture of Tua sitting on the 15-yard line with the whole like empty stadium, magnifique, beautiful. But let's talk a little bit about what this means moving forward here, Jack, and I'll start with you. Obviously, everybody was itching to see Tua. We finally got a little bit of action, and now knowing what we have to look forward to, I'm excited.
I'm excited, but I don't know. I don't think it was enough for – I mean, Fitzmagic won and got benched. That's, like, weird, or has been winning. Like, they're a 500 team right now. So the fact that – they're ahead of the Patriots. So it does feel kind of dirty. It feels weird. It feels awkward. I don't know how much I like this, but I understand it. In our script I wrote, if you look at their record or you look at their schedule right now, they play the Rams, which is a tough team. I don't know if you want any rookie quarterback to have to face Aaron Donald. But after that, it goes Cards, Chargers, Broncos, Jets, Bengals. So that's like an easier stretch to get him familiarized. They're not trying to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm sure they're trying to win as much as possible. I'm sure they would love a playoff berth. It's honestly in the AFC. There's a good chance it could happen. I mean, if they keep down this stretch, a 500 team could make the playoffs at this
Absolutely
point.
could.
So I could see it happening, but then they have that stretch where it's Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, Bills. So I feel like there's going to be a nice little happy stretch, a nice little get used to the league, and then prep for that hard stuff instead of waiting till Fitz plays himself out of a job and then giving 2 of the reins when they have to face the Chiefs, the Pats, the Raiders, and the Bills. And then it's, it doesn't look good and they end the season on a bad note instead of at least trying to figure out where Tua is both, health-wise and throwing-wise and what he can be as a pro so that they have an idea of what they need to work on going into year 2. So I get it. But I'm upset for my boy Fitz. I'm also really happy the fact that he was so energetic about him getting on the field.
Pumped, bro.
That's what makes me feel even worse for Fitz is that he's such a good teammate.
Well, I think, that's he knew what was up going into the season. Fitz, as long as he knows what his role is, he'll always be supportive. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the kind of guy. Couple things, though. Kurt Warner pointed out on Twitter, that's the same way it happened for him with the Giants and Eli Manning. They were actually, at the time, a playoff team when he got benched to switch to Eli, and it worked out for them. Also, I want to point out on Fantasy Voyage, I said last week after Tannehill, Fitzmagic's great game. I said we're gonna see Tua in 2 weeks because that's just what happens, right? It's gonna happen. So, not the way I thought it would work out. But again, I'm super stoked to see him. And Jack brings up a good point about that schedule being, not easy right now with the Rams and Cardinals, but then a fairly decent stretch where he could flourish or at least get some good licks in before he gets to the harder stretch. Cody, what do you think about Tua going forward? Is this the right time?
Yeah, this is what I said when we asked about when we would see Tua back in August on this exact show. Is I felt like after week 6 made sense. It's like perfect timing to get him health wise as far as waiting the 6 games. And then on top of that too, you kind of want to make sure you had an offensive line, and that young offensive line in Miami has been surprisingly playing well throughout the beginning of the season. I wouldn't say they're dominating, but they're playing pretty good, and they kept Fitzmagic upright to make some of the throws that he was making. I think it just made sense. It also makes sense with the time of the buying, with the buy. I like what Jack pointed out with the schedule. And I do think it's like, hey, we're 3-3. We're kind of seeing the Bills kind of come back down to earth. The Patriots aren't that really great. And we already kind of got the good Fitzmagic out of the way. So we know the bad Fitzmagic is going to come at some point. So why don't we see what the rookie got? And if he can deliver like Justin Herbert's been delivering for the Chargers offense, I mean, you can make a push for the playoffs like we're talking about. And if not, he's getting invaluable reps. And you might as well get it. Stats say if you're a top 10 quarterback, you're going to end up starting at least 10-plus games. So it's just a matter of time he's going to take over. So they're just going to see if they can evaluate him and for year 2, how they want to build around him. And I don't think it's going to go this far, guys. But, at the end of the day, he did hurt his hip. He's kind of injury prone. And we're kind of seeing a new era of the NFL where teams are not afraid to move on from a guy. So what if Tua does fail? Well, guess what? The Texans suck right now. They're going to be picking in the top 5. So you might as well see what you got in the kid.
I mean, a few years ago that would have seemed asinine, but we've now seen it a couple of times. It's just the new era doesn't offer you the luxury of sitting a few years and seeing it. You've got to win now. A couple of things, though, that I do want to ask you guys, and I'll get both the questions out so that you have the freedom to really get a good answer in. Do you think that they felt any pressure because of the way that your Burrows and your Herberts are playing to get to it in? And B, Flores doesn't seem like the kind of coach who's willing to tank anything. We saw that last year. Do you think that possibly Tua does? He legitimately feels that Tua presents them the best chance to win moving forward. Cody, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing practice. So as far as we don't know, like Tua's probably maybe looked like the better quarterback in practice and looked like he could enhance the offense. I mean, let's point out, too, this past game against the Jets, yeah, they won. But, I haven't deep dive all 22 yet. From what I saw, and from what I've read from people I trust with their opinions of Jets, there's a lot of, or Dolphins, there's a lot of missed opportunities, in that game. He was only 18 for 27, 191 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he also had those 2 interceptions. So I think maybe, it could be a chance where their offensive coordinator and Brian Flores are like, yeah, those missed throws, that's something that Tua can hit. And I mean, I think the fact that Fitzmagic is embraced to be his veteran leader, I think maybe there was a understanding of like, hey, Fitz, you're going to get it going. You're going to show him how to do the job. But then once we get at some point in the season, we want you to like go to the bench and coach this kid through this season. Kind of like Tony Romo did for Dak Prescott in his rookie year.
Yeah, absolutely. And same to you, Jack. I mean, obviously, like Mayo said, we haven't seen the practice, but again, it doesn't feel like Flores is the kind of guy to say, let's boot it to next year. If he legitimately thought Tannehill was going to go out there and win those games that Tua couldn't, I mean, that's kind of what it is, right? Like,
yeah, you gotta stop confusing the two, but I feel like you just really want to talk about Ryan Tannehill right now.
I do.
You have something you want to get off your chest?
I feel bad for my preseason. He's gonna dive take, and he just keeps smashing my face in it every week.
Just,
and
your mouth's so full of Tannehill crow you can't help it.
Yeah, I should be charging that guy rent for living in my brain the last few weeks.
All right, well, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, that guy, the bearded one.
The bearded one. There we go. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that I almost forget the question now. You kind of threw me off.
Flores isn't starting him just to
No.
start him, right?
Flores,
Like,
that's what it is. Flores definitely isn't taking, and I do think that they believe that this has to be a better option for the team. Flores wants nothing to do with tanking. That is for sure. Like no questions asked. He wants to win at all costs, no matter who. Maybe he's noticed that like Tua is more athletic. Maybe he's noticed over the last couple of weeks that Tua is hitting his receivers a little bit better. Maybe that Tua is looking a little more comfortable, and that it is time to, at least for the future, see what we've got, see where we're at. But I do think that they have to either be close to on par, if not Tua's shining a little bit more in practice, for them to make this move. I don't think that Flores is like listening to some GM saying we have to get him in there. I think it's a groupthink decision that likely Flores is seeing. He has to see something. I'm with Cody. He's got to see something. Like Flores is not one of those guys that's rolling over at 3-3. Like they're number 2. You don't roll over now when you're beating, the Patriots. Like they have a chance, especially after the way the Bills played this last weekend. Like you're only a game out. Like they're 4-2, you're 3-3. They're only a game out of the playoffs and like the number 1 seed in the East. Or not the 1 seed, but you know what I mean? Like winning the AFC East. I could easily see, if a couple injuries, the Bills have a couple injuries, Bills can't get this run game going, Bills can't get this defense going. Like Flores isn't going to like just sit around. They're definitely going to get risky. They'll start going for it on 4th down. Like Flores is that kind of coach. Like they will start taking chances to make a swing at the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with that. Well, we got about 5 minutes left in this quarter. Let's talk a little bit about outlook, right? And maybe where you could see, knowing what you know now about the Dolphins 6 games in, where you could see Tua flourish and where you could see maybe some issues with Tua. And Jack, I'll start with you.
I think there's going to be definitely like a slow start. I mean, he may come out the gate just like Herbert did, on fire. But the problem is he's probably hasn't been throwing with the 1s. He's probably been throwing with the 2s for quite some time. So there should be that gap between him and his wide receiver being on the exact same page. So same thing we've seen with Tom Brady over the weeks. Tom Brady, even with Pro Bowl wide receivers, isn't in sync with his wide receivers. So I think it could take a little bit. That's kind of what I would get at. Probably take a week or 2 before those he's hitting the out routes like on a tee perfectly. It's going to take a little bit of time, but then you don't know. Like he is a rookie quarterback, so he could come out and fall flat on his face. He could come out and throw 3 or 4 interceptions, but then they have to know that, all right, then he needs time to develop, and we're going to ride this out until the wheels fall off and keep going, because you can't go back to Fitz now. Unless Tua gets hurt, there's no going back to Fitz.
Yeah, 100 on board with that. And what about you, Cody? Where do you think maybe that you should worry about about Tua, or what excites you most, either or?
I mean, the only thing that worries me obviously is like, will the hip sustain? Will any injuries flare up? That's his biggest question for me, is his durability. Other than that, I mean, you got to be excited about what they got down there. Miles Gaskin's not like a world beater, but that kid's been flashing for him. They still got Matt Breida in the backfield, but I've talked about how I like Preston Williams, and he's coming along now over the past couple of weeks. And Devontae Parker, freaking 3 tight ends. I'm gonna talk about it on the voyage tomorrow, Rob. Don't steal my dud, by the way. But Mike Gesicki, kill me. But apparently they got some 2 tight ends named Adam Shaheen and Durham Smythe that they can use in the passing attack. And like I said, I've been like Solomon Kinley, and there's another rookie lineman I think that's on there that's been playing pretty well for them this year. So I'm kind of excited to see if he can show what we all what some people thought he could be. You can't not be excited about a young kid. I just hope he does flourish, and I just hope none of his past injury issues flare up at any point.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what everyone's hoping, is that, because obviously he's electric, right? He always has been. So it's can he sustain here? So super excited to see if that's possible. Again, the thing is, for me as a Rams fan, you guys see the hat there. I think this is a great place to start him at, actually. You've got Aaron Donald, who is a monster. You've got Jalen Ramsey, who is one of the tops at his position, but you've got a soft middle right there, right? Like so you're gonna have some gaps, and he'll have some rush in his face, and he'll feel what that feels like. He'll feel what it's like to play against a number one cornerback, but he'll also have some weaknesses to pick apart. So I think the Rams are a perfect game to start him at. Go ahead.
Know what I just realized too? No, what I just realized about his schedule. I can't believe we didn't bring it up, which I'm glad he's getting a start now, because now we get to see him and Herbert battle and him and Joe Burrow battle.
Oh, absolutely. The Battle of the Rookies games are going to be ones to see. Which one are you? We got a minute and a half. You can only pick one of the two. Which are you more excited to watch? The Dolphins Chargers in Herbert v Tua, or the Dolphins Bengals in Joey B v Tua?
I would say Herbert and Tua. I don't know. Herbert's just been playing. I wouldn't say he's been playing better than Burrow, but he's got more surrounding talent than Burrow does to make it a more fun matchup.
I'm going to say the same thing, because as much as you can go with the whole thing, like Tua is the number one quarterback entering the year, then Joe Burrow overtook him. I like that because the whole thing, like Los Angeles was going to take either Herbert or Tua, no matter who Miami drafted. That was their plan. And then going to Miami too, Dolphins fans have been seeing like Herbert light up, and they're starting to wonder if they took the wrong quarterback. So it's like there's going to be a lot of
more of a direct rivalry, right? Like there's always names that are linked together, and Burrow was so clearly the one. Those next tier guys, they're always going to be linked, and that is Herbert and Tua. That's why I'm on that one.
I will remind everybody to just chill out, though. Like, I'm not trying to shit on Burrow, or not on Burrow. I'm not trying to shit on Herbert at all, because I've been super impressed with what he's done. But I will say this. Remember what we thought about Danny Dimes like 6 weeks in, and now what do we think of Danny Dimes as of right now? It is not the same. And if, just like how we felt, or we just talked about, if another quarterback comes into the draft where the Giants think that, like, the Giants probably don't pass up on Trevor Lawrence, even with Danny Dimes. The Jets don't pass up on Trevor Lawrence with Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold looked good the rookie year. There was signs of it. So
yeah, and the same thing with Tua, right? Like, don't let this week's one game coming up decide. Oh, he's either a bust or the next, Drew Brees. So let's give it a minute, guys. This instant gratification we've received from these rookie quarterbacks just makes it seem like it's a freaking easy job, and it's not. So,
we also thought that the Green Bay Packers were like the best team in the NFC this week.
And that's going to change.
So what do you know?
Weekly,
you never know.
That's going to just rotate weekly. One of you mentioned, I don't remember which one it is because my brain is bad, but had mentioned making plays for the playoffs, right? And how the Dolphins are in that. And one of the best ways to do that is to maybe score a big time trade. So for quarter number 2, we're going to jump into potential trades. And I see that you guys have some listed here. I'm going to start with Cody, because I thought of one while we were doing that, and he's on his list. So you've got maybe Julio Jones to your Colts. I know that's big boy dreams, but I was thinking, could you see a Miami maybe tossing a not a first, obviously, but a 2, a 3, something like that to get a Julio down in Miami? And obviously talk about how he's not going to the Colts as well.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. The Colts have projected the second most cap space for next year, so they could actually take on his contract if they wanted to, and it makes sense because T.Y. Hilton, he's had some
garbage on my fantasy.
I want to say, he's had some unlucky stuff. Touchdowns called back because of stupid penalties that shouldn't be called, but I'll admit that his skills have somewhat diminished. And I think if he had a Julio next to him, they could use each other. I know Pittman's going to come back, but if you're going to really be all in with Phillip Rivers, I'm just all about it. And we can get Julio Jones at the back end of his career. Probably won't happen, but yeah, I think Miami has enough. I'm kind of pulling it up right now. You're asking me a question I wasn't.
I mean, we don't have to care about the money. The money is fake anyway. We've seen that. So really not. If you want Julio, you can make it happen. We've seen that. I'm tired of the money's not
Dolphins
there.
Dolphins are in the top 10 with cap space available. So yeah, they could definitely make it work.
Why not? Why not go get Tua, Julio freaking Jones?
But they're not paying their wide receivers anything, and they're getting tremendous production from them.
Yeah, but it's Julio.
I know, but like the wide receiving core is the least of their worries on that team. Like the offensive line has been good, but it still needs help. Like Austin
That's
Jackson's
okay.
on IR right now.
They know
They're down to some backups. Like
that
they could use
Houston
help there.
pick
Not
is
that anyone's gonna ever trade an offensive lineman at this point.
that
but
Houston pick is an offensive lineman in waiting. You could just chalk that one. That he's coming in. You're gonna get a guy, and maybe you know what Miami's wanting. They're wanting Houston to f it all up and Sewell to fall to him, and then bada bing, you're fine, and this is all golden. But why? So who do you? Let me get your opinion then. Julio's been the biggest name I've heard, and then we'll jump into the other names for you in a second. Is there a home for you for Julio if it's not staying in Atlanta, Jack?
ooh, see, I don't know. Like again, I have John Ross going to the Packers. I could equally throw out Julio Jones, and be like, they really, again, cap space doesn't matter. It's imaginary. They couldn't make it work. I don't think they would be able to make it work. But Green Bay desperately needs a wide receiver opposite of Devontae Adams.
How about your 49ers out there in the Bay?
For Julio Jones?
Yeah.
I mean,
reunite him with the Shanny. He knows how to work it.
Reunited and it feels so good, but like not for $20 million a year. Like Shanahan ain't pulling that trigger. Like they don't want to pay their wide receivers.
Right.
Like why would you? When you got Brandon Ayuk scoring touchdowns as a rookie, you got Deebo Samuel's back and healthy scoring touchdowns. Like they're fine. Like they have a stable of running backs. Their number one running back, Raheem Mostert, got hurt. They still got other guys. Like they'll be fine.
I'm sorry. I feel a change over here. I don't think football is going more towards what baseball did a few years back. Just open your eyes, guys. It's not about the single superstar anymore. Everyone's out here playing Moneyball, and 20 mil for a receiver is going to be a hard pill to swallow. So, Jack, let's come to you where I see your first option here came with the caveat of the money's not right for him, but AJ Green to the New England Patriots, which I wanted 2 years ago.
I mean, if you put AJ Green, even a washed up AJ Green or an AJ Green that is lost in this offense, which is I think more so the truth than AJ Green is completely like out of gas and not the same wide receiver. Like I don't think he's past his prime. But I don't know if you guys know this, but the New England Patriots love spending picks and paying for Bengals wide receivers that are way past their prime, a la Mohamed Sanu. They gave up a second-round pick last year. They went after Ocho Cinco, a.k.a. Chad Johnson, years and years back, and neither of those panned out. So why not A.J. Green? It could work.
Keep failing.
I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying, like, maybe. Just keep throwing darts at the wall.
Yeah,
they need wide receiver help because if you broke down that game film of Cam Newton throwing the ball, he's throwing the ball to nobody that's open. Like his play has diminished since week 1, but he has nobody to throw to right now.
Absolutely not. So at least you give a guy who has shown he can get it done. I'm not mad at it. Here's one I really like. Zach Ertz to the Bills. Cody brings up here.
That was a good one.
I am not hating on that at all. Obviously, it's over in Philly for Zach Ertz. We're just at this point waiting on the clock to run out. So, I mean, you think he becomes a best friend to Josh Allen, I assume, right?
Yeah, and just even continues to open up the offense. As much as I like a Dawson Knox, he just keeps on getting ticky-tack injuries right now. And then we just saw Travis Kelce eat their defensive line. So, what do when you see somebody beat your team? You go get what they got, which is a receiving tight end. I like I said, I don't know. I don't think I know he's dealing with his ankle injury. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. So obviously this would be more of a back season end push. But keep in mind, I think he has 1 or 2 more years left on this contract. He's just trying to get equally paid to other tight ends in the league. And Josh is still on his rookie contract, so you can maybe work out something with him. Even if it's just like a 1-year extension, then you just kind of balance the money out, maybe give him a signing bonus. And I just think it would make life easier on Josh. And then obviously they still got Beasley and John Brown, obviously Stephon Diggs. And maybe that does help out the running attack. Maybe they spread more things out. I think it just makes sense from a point if you're going to really try to go all in and try to beat the Chiefs when it comes back, when you have to face them again in the playoffs. And I just think it makes sense.
Right, and again, if there's one thing Ertz was when he's healthy up until this season, which is to me a wash because of the contract dispute, he's been consistent, and that's what Josh Allen needs is a little consistency now in his life, right? We've seen the last couple weeks, maybe if he had a safety blanket like a Zach Ertz out there, it kind of calms him down, and Jack had mentioned it earlier on the TBB, it calms him down, right? And you don't have to worry about him tossing that one bad ball and then the next bad ball and he kind of spirals out of control. It gives him somebody to toss it to and just get comfortable again. So absolutely love that idea, and the price just keeps getting cheaper on what you'll have to pay to get Zach Ertz. Jack, we come to you, and J.J. Watt, which you've got 3 options for: New England, Pittsburgh, and then I wish the Rams. But I think the whole country rooting on J.J. Watt to join his brothers in Pitt there. Why the other 2?
Well, New England needs all the help that they can get right now. They're depleted defensively. I think taking any swing at any trade block potential is what they need to do. They need help defensively. They need help on the offensive line. But it's darn near impossible to be able to get offensive linemen in close to the trade deadline because everybody's got banged up. So there's not like any team has a plethora of running back or offensive linemen. So I just think that J.J. Watt is kind of a Bill Belichick kind of guy. I'm sure that they would work out a team-friendly deal, and J.J. Watt would be somewhere. That would be somewhere J.J. Watt wants to play in terms of best opportunity moving forward in his career to win another championship. Like, who wouldn't pick New England? Obviously, like you would say KC over New England, but I don't think they have a need for him. New England's depleted all over the field, so I just think it's a potential spot. Again, Pittsburgh, I'm down for just because we would all like to see it. It'd be a feel-good story. That's not where they need help, especially after losing Devin Bush. I looked and kind of scoured the trade block candidates. I didn't really see any linebackers that fit. I know at the beginning of the season there was talks that the Niners were willing to trade or were potentially willing to trade Quan Alexander. I don't think that's a move that they make just for the Steelers would be willing to make just for like a 1-year kind of gimme deal, which they can get out of that contract with like a little bit of dead money after this year. But maybe because of the fact that they don't have Devin Bush, that they just go add firepower by any means necessary to the defense. And then your Rams, like, why not? I mean, anybody next to, yeah, it's basically just printing money. But anybody next to, especially next year, he's not going to be worth whatever it is, 16 million, like 18 million, whatever J.J. Watt's getting. He's going to be getting like half that next year, like 2/3 of that next year at most. So, again, maybe on a 1-year deal, on a 3rd-round pick, like a 3rd and a 5th, something like that the Rams could go get it. Like, Rams don't like draft picks anyways, so maybe, who knows, you never know. But after the mollywhopping your team took last night, no offense, I think they maybe get a little antsy and go make a move.
Again, I wouldn't be mad at it. J.J. Watt, one of my favorite players. I wouldn't mind to see him with the horn on the helmet. This is my favorite worded trade in the script here, Cody. Carlos Dunlap / any veteran edge rusher to the Seahawks. If you're available with a pulse and play edge, the Seahawks want you. I mean, obviously, that's indicative of what you feel about the pass rush, I take it.
Yeah, that's just their biggest area of concern. They're going to get Jamal Adams back. Snack Harrison's going to help out their interior. So I know Darrell Taylor, the rookie, will be coming off, I think, PUP here shortly. But any type of veteran guy that could help them out. I talked about it on Cody Talks NFL last Friday. Carlos Dunlap got demoted to basically a 3rd down role. And he was kind of voiced his frustration over that. And Seattle has an opening where he can get plenty of snaps. Or if he's just going to be using our edge rush role, I'm sure he would rather do that on a team that has a potential to go to a Super Bowl. And I'm sure with his age, I'm sure his contract, he's at the back end of his contract. You could probably trade him for a day 3 pick at this point. But while we were talking, I just was curious, like what other edge rushers are could be potentially available? Here's one I want to throw out there. He's on the final year of his deal. He's at the age of 32. It's going to be dependent on how these Chargers play over this next 3 weeks up to the trade deadline. If the Chargers lose like these next 3 games and they're out of they don't have no potential to maybe sneak in as a wild card, watch for Melvin Ingram. because the team's not going to re-sign him. They just paid Joey Bosa all that money. So I would not be surprised if a team rents Melvin Ingram for the rest of the season if they need pass rush help. Shoot, I wouldn't mind if my Colts made that trade
Boy,
for him.
that feels like a real Pete Carroll thing to do, right? We saw it. We saw it with Clowney, really. Anyway, they've already tried it once, so why not? I mean, I get it. Last one that Jack brought to the table here. John Ross to Green Bay. All speed, but does he have any kind of hands, Jack? Or does it matter because Rodgers just throws the prettiest ball in football?
I just think it's throwing bodies at a depleted positional group for the Green Bay Packers. I will throw this out there, though, because Cody said really quick to backtrack. What about Clay Matthews? Like, Clay Matthews to the Seahawks makes sense.
Oh, that's a veteran. Yeah, you can just sign
him. It's a veteran free agent or anybody. I know it's not a trade, but, like, it's somebody. He's out there. He looked kind of good next to Aaron Donald last year. Like, I mean,
they just need a situational pass rusher that can help out that secondary.
On third down, like, you got to be able to at least get after him, kinda, sorta. I mean, when Jamal Adams is like back and completely healthy, like they can use him, but then that means that you're leaving one last guy. Like I know that he can rush the passer, but that means you're leaving one last guy in coverage. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm looking at the list right now. Cam Wake's still out there. Is that true?
Yeah, what is he, 38?
Yeah, lost. Clay Matthews, Terrell Suggs, Reggie Gilbert.
I would try who's a classic Pete Carroll that could maybe get something out of him, and he was just a healthy scratch for the Bills. Trade for Trent Murphy.
Right.
He's in the final year of his contract. Throw a day 3 pick at him.
No, they have to do something. They're too good of an offense to let that one wrinkle of the team keep them from being competitive for a Super Bowl. So, go ahead.
That ESPN has them as their number one ranked team, to me.
Hey, I do too.
Yeah, Cody, and I believe Lippert does as well. But that's how good Russ is this season. Last 50 seconds here, I'm going to throw out a name. Dwayne Haskins, does he get traded? And if so, what's the team you see him getting traded to? Jack, I'll start you.
No, I don't think he gets traded because I don't think anybody's going to try and trade for him at the trade deadline. Like, what team needs a quarterback? The Washington Redskins.
That's so true. Mayo, could you see Dwayne Haskins being moved? And I guess it would be to a team who's not planning on needing him this year. It's a shot in the dark at a future franchise quarterback, knowing you're not going to get a high pick.
I'll say this. Our boys at Stick to Football had Quincy Avery on their episode today, and he trained Dwayne Haskins up till the draft. He's saying based on his conversations with Dwayne, it does not sound right now, but you never know. It's the NFL. But if I could point to a team, maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's what I was,
they do need to start planning ahead for the future. And then I think they need a better option just in case something happens to Big Ben. I ain't saying Dwayne Haskins, never really been a believer in the kid, but at the end of the day, you never know. A change of scenery, especially like in Pittsburgh, where Mike
Tomlin Dwayne Haskins over. Oh man, Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges.
Yeah,
and you know, Mike Tomlin ain't gonna put up with the shit. At the end of the day, I know Ron Rivera isn't either. He's trying to make a statement to the kid for whatever. I'm not. Again, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, so that's.
I would say they're like all offseason there was those rumors of Jameis Winston going and sitting behind Big Ben. So like that's kind of a Jameis Winston-esque light type of move to make to go get somebody behind him just in case something happens. And then you never know. Like Big Ben hasn't necessarily been a, Ryan Fitzpatrick type, but he may have the same tendencies, especially them being both big arm, big physical, strong quarterbacks, like to be able to do something and him learn from them.
A couple thick boys. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to give my dudes a break real quick. Let them get a sip and a breather. I'm going to hit you with this book for this prospect encyclopedia that if you don't have, you're just doing football wrong. So give us 2 shakes and we will be right back with you. You see Jack showing it off. Always there. For over 100 years, the story has been written. ever changing and growing with each new chapter. The soul remains, though the characters change. Bigger, faster, stronger, smarter.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
So too grows our fandom. Start miles ahead. The 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia. September. Available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Blitzalytics.com. And welcome back into Football Happy Hour. Man, that commercial gets me jazzed. Obviously, again, you heard it there. You can get that book at Blitzalytics.com. You can buy it at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Target.com, just about everywhere. Just Google it. It's the top thing. So we're going to get back into this. And for the third quarter, we're going to talk a little bit of NFC East. And I say a little bit because it feels like that's the amount of good football you're getting. Just a little bit when you watch NFC East games. What is it? They've got 5 total wins on the season. There's multiple teams with more wins than the entire division. It's just, at this point, it's a running joke. So we start with question 1 of who will win the NFC East, or at this point, back into the playoffs from the NFC East. And Jack, I'll come to you. It feels like even though the division is bad, it still feels like it's top heavy between the two teams. Who's your favorite?
I hate to say it, but I think the Cowboys probably take it just out of the sheer look of their schedule. Mm-hmm. It looks like if you just kind of give, I think I split wins with Washington, Dallas, and the Eagles evenly. And if all those teams go 500, I'm sure everybody's gonna beat the Giants. Giants could easily go 0-6 team, just like their brother in the Jets.
I think the Giants are gonna win it.
Huh? Do
I'm
you?
doing it. Yes. I really do.
That threw me for a loop. I was thinking we were all going Philly or Dallas
joking.
Here, but yeah.
I was not joking when I said last night in the Slack chat that I can't wait for the Giants to host the Bears on Wild Card Weekend.
Oh man, what a joke game, bro.
If you want me to go ahead and get it.
What out of anything that you see from this team, what gives you the thought
their
that's
defense? Their defense, I'm telling you, they are a very solid defense. They got James Bradbury, who is shutting down wide receivers right now. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that said that. Now, Rob, you can attest to this. I've been talking up this Giants defense past 2 weeks on a couple of my shows, and I'm not trying to feel like I just got myself pat on the back. But today, DJ and Bucky on their podcast even talked about how good this Giants defense is playing as the season goes. So I'm looking at a Cowboys offense that potentially, we don't know, just lost Zach Martin. And now their backup left tackle is out for the next 2 weeks. They're coming off that win against the football team. The Eagles, they're missing 4/5 of their offensive line right now. Zach Ertz is hurt. Zach Ertz is hurt. Miles, what's his name?
Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders.
Too many miles in football this year.
Yeah. Anyways, they're all types of banged up. So the way I'm viewing this is their 2 offensive lines are banged up. The Giants, Dexter Lawrence and the fucking Leonard Williams. Sorry about swearing. Roy's not here, but those two have been playing very well as a tandem this year. If you turn on the film, I'm telling you, those two have been eating up offensive lines. I think they just had their way with the football team's offensive line. They will have their way with the current Cowboys line, and they'll have their way with the current Eagles line. Now, obviously, your biggest concern is the Giants' offensive line. But their advantage is they're healthy and they are young. They're going through their growing pains right now. So at some point, I believe that they can gel. And we've already seen Danny Dimes. Yes, he's had a rough start to his year, but he's also shown that he can produce. And I'm trusting Danny Dimes over Kyle Allen, like we saw this weekend. I trust him over Andy Dalton at this point after what we saw last night. Even though it might be a 6-10 record, I think the Giants are going to win this division. I'm saying that right now.
I'm not even going to lie. I'm a little bit shocked. I'm going to throw my 2 cents out there and just, I don't know what else. He's got a point, because when you start looking at the schedule, right? So for me, it came down to schedule, give it to the Cowboys, because I think they're non-competitive against the Steelers, the Ravens, and probably the 49ers. I think they can be competitive in the rest of their games with Washington, Philly, Minnesota, Washington again, Cincinnati, and then to finish it up with the Eagles and Giants. The Eagles have a horrible stretch of games they have to get through with, again, 4/5 of their offensive line out. I think non-competitive, they're gonna be non-competitive against the Browns, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, and Cardinals in a 5-game stretch. I think I go Cowboys, but Cody made a case to me that it's not Cowboys Eagles, it's Cowboys Giants. So Jack, I mean, looking at the schedule and to me, I'll go Cowboys over Giants because it feels like they'll always have the best player on the field between the two teams. So coin flip to them, but he made a good case for the Giants. That defense against beat to hell offensive lines in the division could be the difference maker.
All right, for me, I got to go with one of our patented stats and metrics here. He has a .33, not a 3.3, not a 3.03, a .33 touchdown to turnover ratio. He's got 9 total turnovers to only 3 touchdowns. There's no way Danny Dimes gets it done with that offense. I think if we're going to go on defensive and we're going to talk about defense, then I definitely trust Washington's defense. And if and when they get Chase Young back, then they're going to be a lot harder to deal with. What's that?
He's been back the last 2 weeks.
Back in at full strength. But yeah, like once they get him rolling again, this is going to be the team to be reckoned with. If we're talking about the rest of them, I just look at the schedule and to me it says that the Dallas has easier games ahead of them.
How is football team going to win with their offense?
I don't know. I'm just saying, out of all the rest of it, like I don't think any of these teams are going to win. Like, but I would trust the Washington football team over Danny Dimes and his ability to turn the ball over.
Well, they just beat them.
I mean,
I get it, but like
they're the Bears.
No, they are the. I'm not going. I'm just saying the Giants.
I think his point is that they're the Bears. They should lose every game, but they're going to win some that you just. They're inexplicably going to win games. The Cowboys.
They're going to beat the Eagles Thursday night. I'm already picking the Giants to win. Okay, loss against the Bucks. They already proven they can beat the football team. I think they can beat the Eagles. They can beat the Bengals. Seahawks, sure, they lose. I'm not buying into the Cardinals quite yet after last night. Browns, that could be a loss. Ravens, that's a loss. That's their tough game stretch right there. And they can beat the Cowboys. They should have beat the Cowboys that last game, but Red Rocket hit Michael Gallup.
I don't know. The way I did it was the entire NFC East split. So all the games split, and then I divided up losses and wins from there. I don't see how the Giants are going to beat. I don't see them beating the Bengals. I don't see them beating the Cardinals. I don't see them beating the Browns. I don't see them beating the Ravens. And the Cowboys maybe at that final spot, but I don't know. To me, it's the Cowboys by default, and that's not saying much. I want to see. I think the Eagles.
Honestly, what on the Cowboys makes you believe they're going to win anything?
Not what I seen last night for sure, but it's just
Right.
like just the
When
schedule.
Zeke is giving the ball to the other team, it's hard to say
And-
even him.
And then
but-
the next day, the players are coming to the media and they're calling their
oh
coach
yeah,
out.
saying the coach is
That's
not
what I'm
just
saying.
not
It's like, it's
flat out
really the
not good at his job.
The dumpsters on
They
fire
suck.
right now.
I mean, I talked about it on TBB today. I just, again, like looking at the schedule, I feel like there's games that they could win. Like if they split the games that they could win, like I don't know.
I could see them losing this weekend to the football team because of the mismatch between the offensive line and the defensive line.
I think it's
Very
a choice
true.
of
But
what
then,
you
again,
think is
then
going to
they'll
win
get
this division. The
Let's
best
talk about
offense or the best
schedule.
defense?
Okay, let's now let me talk about this. If you guys were talking about schedule, when I put this on the script earlier, I thought the football team had the easiest schedule. They got the Cowboys, the Giants, the Lions, and Bengals, and the Cowboys the next 5 games, all winnable games that they can string together.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm just basically if you guys are forcing me to put my flag on a team, I'm putting on the Giants. But if you want me to place my flag on, like, if any team could just go on a run and win a division, look at the football teams next 5 games, and then obviously the Steelers and Niners and Seahawks and even Panthers is tough, and then they close with the Eagles. If they can somehow figure out things on offense, I'm with you, Jack. They got the defense. But I just don't trust their offense, and we're living in a offensive league this year.
Which
and if
is
you
why
don't
the
have
Cowboys win. Who are the
Exactly.
in any matchup here? In any matchup, they've got the best running back. They've got the best wide receiver 1. They've got the best wide receiver 2.
Best wide receiver 3.
Best wide receiver 3. The best offensive
The best
line at this
linebacking
time.
core.
Right, like
the Cardinals have Chandler Jones and Andy Dalton can get the job done.
you're right. I mean, but if this wasn't Mike McCarthy, I'd be arguing that the Cowboys are going to win it. But it is, and I've watched him just destroy an offense before, and it's happening before your eyes. Like, he's an offense killer, so I'm afraid to say Cowboys, but on sheer talent, they've got all pros. The rest of the teams just don't.
I feel like if the 3 of us took control of that franchise right this moment, then the Cowboys would be winning this. But again, like,
Bro,
we're talking,
I think the Cowboys would be better with no
we're talking
coach.
about a bunch of shit teams that really they all suck. And so we're trying to determine who sucks less.
We're
like,
arguing over who's going to lose in the first round. Like, let's be legit here.
How about we go to the next question on this topic, which is, should the NFL change this playoff rule and even allow such a shit division to even be featured in the playoffs?
No, because I get to rub in somebody's face that their team this year is absolute trash and you're still picking 24th. I love doing that. That's my favorite thing in the whole world, is to watch. Like, I would love the Cowboys to win 6 games and still pick 24th. That would be mwah to me. So no, I'm a traditionalist.
Here's the thing. I'm right there with you, Rob. I'm a traditionalist, not because of that, but because I will go back to like the Seahawks. They're 7-9.
7-9 though, but like that's at least a little better.
I think
a little better. If we're talking about this franchise, like specifically for this franchise, I feel like if you're this bad, like if you can't even get to 7 wins, you shouldn't be allowed in the playoffs.
Yeah, because here's the thing. The funny thing is like they can literally host a game and beat the Bears in the playoffs.
They could easily do that too.
It's gonna happen. I think whoever. All right, we all disagree. Well, you two kind of agree on the Cowboys. I'm saying the Giants. We're like you said, Jack. We're kind of running in circles because we can all make a case why one of these teams could sneak in. I might just go ahead and say is, if one of these teams do sneak in with a 6-10, 7-9 record, and they face the second place in the NFC North Bears, like I might go ahead and say they upset the Bears on that wild card week.
right. Because the only thing you only gotta manage to score like 17 points, and then it's over. Like, that's what happens. So
yeah, but we're talking about big, Nick come playoff time, and that could be a different thing. Like the Bears could easily be the team to beat.
Yeah,
we don't see coming. Like, and we've seen them. They're 5-1 right now, 4-1, 5-1. I can't believe they're even there. I appreciate the fact that they beat the Bucks on Thursday night a week earlier because it was a short week. It was a traveling week. Like the Bucks had every excuse to lose, and then that just motivated them even more to beat the dog shit out of the Green Bay Packers. like I just like keep bringing that up as much as possible in this episode.
Yeah.
But no, like I think they're fake, but they're not as fake as the Green Bay Packers were at 13-3 last year.
Really quick before, because I know we're getting to the end of this quarter, I just saw Roy, who isn't feeling too well. He's in our chat. He said, "Just woke up, fellas." He says the football team is probably the best team in the NFC East if they put Alex Smith under center.
That's what I've been saying.
You've been saying I disagree. I didn't think he looked that great, but yeah.
Well, you can't look good on one leg behind that offensive line, but if Brandon Sheriff's coming back and looking
so
like
much rust he had on his body, so much rust you got to get knocked off.
Well, Aaron Donald definitely shook that shit off.
Yeah, he did shake a little bit off. Yeah, he whacked him a little bit.
I feel like he took it easy on him. Like when he just like hugged him and like just like brought him to the ground. I feel like that was being nice. That was Aaron Donald's version of being nice.
Hey, good to see you again, bud. Let me lay you down here. It reminded me of that Saturday Night Live skit where they had to lay them down gently by the head on a pillow. So yeah, no, I mean I get it. Again, this division is just trash and has been for two solid years now. Like,
you know what I don't get? Like, I don't think. Here's the thing. We talked about Dwayne Haskins earlier. You know what's so weird is we started this show off with Tua. Is the Dolphins turned to Tua to make a push to win the division, and the Redskins turned to Kyle Allen to make a push to win. It seems like quite opposite of what you should be doing.
Yeah, you know, well, it's the NFC East. It's the opposite of what everyone should be doing.
If you had to put your money on one of those quarterbacks to get you a few wins this season, like who are you putting it on?
In this division?
No. On this team, on Washington football team, like there's no. For me, it's hands down Alex Smith.
I know you say Alex. I would honestly just do Dwayne Haskins just because I'd rather put product out there so I can move them and actually have something to trade. And I mean, he wasn't awful in his last game. He threw for 300 yards on that Baltimore defense. So.
Oh, yeah, that was like one of his. He got benched after one of his best games of his career.
Yeah,
so obviously it's not 100% performance based.
With Alex Smith, but I would just say I would go with the young kid.
Yeah, I mean, you're just playing till the wheels fall off and just move on, man. Come on. So, all right, well that'll do it for quarter number 3, the NFC least. So let's go ahead then and move on into the fourth quarter here, where we're going to talk a little bit about that Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia that you just saw the commercial for, and you see Cody holding up, you see Jack holding up, you see right over my cartoon shoulder there, and I'm sure Roy is at home not feeling good. It's under his pillow. That's how Roy is. That's how he learns. So let's talk a little bit about favorite offensive and defensive players of the week for you guys, and I'm going to let you be a little wordy since we're down Roy this week. So, Jack, I'm going to start with you, and this guy's name has been tossed around the last couple of weeks as a buy low candidate for fantasy football, and I think that window has closed, sir.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift came out of nowhere this week with 116 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. I don't know if you guys seen what he did to safety Josh Jones, but he as close to took his soul as humanly possible with the ball in your hand, ran him the you-know-what over. It was beautiful. A lot of things that I've had to knock on DeAndre Swift, I will admit, like he does run very hard in between the tackles for being a shifty, kind of in space type of running back. Like, he's willing to lower his shoulder, and he delivered a thud to a good safety in Josh Jones. So, well, I would say a good safety. He was a really good safety coming out. But anyways, I think what he did was outstanding, and he's got a heck of a backfield to have to compete with. Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson. Finally, he gets his chance, and I think he's been in the doghouse since dropping that ball in week 1, where he dropped that go-ahead touchdown with just a few seconds left. A give-me catch that I think any one of us could have brought in, not under the pressure, of course. So I was very, very impressed with what DeAndre Swift did this week. Both, he didn't catch a whole lot of balls at the backfield. This was all on the ground. This was a majority of it was between the tackles. Majority of it was just good smash-mouth football, like the Matt Patricia style of, defense translated to offense, and it showed off and it paid off.
Well, let's talk a second about DeAndre then, because again, the Lions have had their issues at this position since old Barry left many, many moon ago. I remember it was a big deal because Kerryon Johnson limped across the 100-yard threshold to like 100.5 yards. This is the first time I felt like we've seen a dominant performance out of a Detroit running back in quite some time. Do you think Patricia finally goes ahead and hands the keys to the car over to Swift, or are we going to deal with the AP and Kerryon thing? Because I just doesn't feel like it behooves them to do that going forward after what you saw from Swift. And I mean, I get he paid the penalty for that drop already, but come on.
Yeah, he should be getting more. I think it should be more of a split between him and AP.
Didn't he have more carries this week than the rest of the season combined?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like it's insane.
Definitely, because I own him in like 2 different leagues. So
yeah, just give the kid the damn ball, as Keyshawn Johnson said back in the day. So, Cody, I'll come to you. You got a couple guys you want to spotlight. Both of them guys I absolutely love. So please indulge me.
Yeah, I got a couple names just because I know we were gonna miss our boy Roy tonight. I'll be quick. I'm gonna toss out a third name too, because this is just because I want to talk about a guy I wrote about. But yeah, my number one guy though is T. Higgins. He had 6 receptions, 125 yards. He's number 3 prospect for the Bengals. Jacob Patterson at at Scouting LLC on Twitter. Give him a follow. Yeah, T. Higgins, man, against the Colts, he looked great. He took the top off the defense. He almost had like a 60, 70-yard touchdown. He was giving my boy Rocky Sin problems all afternoon, and I think he's kind of emerging as that focal point of that Bengals passing attack, which could eventually lead to what Jack talked about earlier, a potential A.J. Green trade, or even the John Ross trade, which he requested. So I'm glad to see him emerge. He was a top 5 wide receiver for me in this past class. And I will say this too, man, Joe Burrow is so good. Like, I know we keep on talking about him, but what he did in that first half was amazing. I know he kind of had a down second half when that Colts defense adjusted to him, but that kid's going to be he has a bright future. I just hope they continue to invest in that offensive line for him. The second guy to a guy I want to highlight is Justin Jefferson. 9 receptions, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. I saw this right before we went live. He had the second most receiving yards by a rookie in his first 6 games, and he hardly played his first 2 games. And he's a number 3 prospect for me on the Vikings and the Prospect Encyclopedia. And one last name to throw it out there, my boy Irv Smith, who is the number 2 guy. He's finally emerged the past couple weeks. He's gotten 4 receptions, at least 50, he had 64 last week, 55 this week, 2-point conversion, and I think he's kind of emerging to take over that Kyle Rudolph role as the season goes on.
Yeah, which we've told you again a long time ago when it was the fantasy football hot seat. We were talking about him in Dynasty, so it's starting to come to fruition there. Justin Jefferson, by the way, is an absolute monster. The numbers say he's a top 10 receiver. When I say that, not rookie receiver. As of right now, statistically, he is a top 10 receiver. That's absolutely insane that they were able to replace Stephon Diggs with that level of firepower. And again, I remember you guys pointing it out, like he was the most NFL-ready receiver. You see guys like a Judy and a Ruggs and all this and all that. But Jefferson was ready to ball the day he stepped on the field. Love him. T. Higgins with another great week. And again, you'll never be penalized here, Cody, for the Joe Burrow love. You know how we feel about Joey B. You see him over there behind Jack. We love him. So let's pivot from the offense to the defense, man. Some of these big uglies down here. And Jack, I'm going to start with you this is a nasty stat line here.
Oh, yeah, I was going to throw out Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Miles Sanders both had outstanding performances, too, on the offense side of the ball. Defensively, our boy, somebody that we've talked about for quite some time now over the last couple of years, Juwan Bentley, 12 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, and caused the interception that gave them a chance to win the game, but eventually they didn't win it. But Juwan Bentley has been one of the few bright spots. I think this last week was his biggest week by far, and his biggest performance. But 12 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, and then that interception or causing that interception on a delayed blitz, outstanding. I mean, he had both of his tackles for loss, he basically just was, he read it and was in the backfield before anybody else was ready. He hit both times. I think he hit Philip Lindsay 3 or 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he's proving to be, a valuable commodity on a team that is super depleted, especially on the defense side of the ball, especially on that front seven, depleted of talent. He's being that kind of diamond in the rough, and was almost low hanging fruit this week because of the stat line just pops.
Well, low hanging fruit when you're in the next man up mentality. That's still fruit you can eat. So you got to pick it. So, Cody, again, you give us 2 names here. I'll turn the floor over to you real quick, man.
Well, I gotta show love to my Colts, and mainly because not only this past game, but this kid has impressed me ever since he got thrusted into action a few weeks ago when Malik Hooker went down with a season-ending injury. But it's tackles in this game. So actually, both those guys are in my list. Kari Willis is number 4 for the Colts. Blackman's number 10. But I'm just so impressed by Blackman because I wasn't really expecting to see much of him. Because he was coming off a torn ACL in the Pac-12 championship game, which happens in last December. And then, of course, we had Malik Hooker, and I was a big fan of Malik Hooker. I thought he would, could have a bounce-back year. But with how Blackman's playing, the Colts declined Hooker's option. Hooker will be a free agent after this year. And with his injury history with Hooker, they're going to move on from him. And I understand now with how Blackman's playing. So kudos to Chris Ballard for finding these safeties in the mid rounds.
Chris Ballard is awesome at his job.
Yeah, exactly. And my number, my other guy I wanted to bring up is Micah. I always butcher these dang names. Michael Jumudie. I think I said it right. He's a Broncos cornerback. He's a number 8 prospect for Ryan Lippert for the Denver Broncos. And against the Patriots, he had 7 tackles. All those were solo. 1 pass deflection and 2 forced fumbles. This kid got thrusted in the action because of all the injuries earlier in the year. AJ Bouye's out. Teams were picking on him, but he kept on flashing, and then he kind of put together a performance this past Sunday. I know he was a guy that stood out to me at the Senior Bowl that he has the tools of what it could to be a NFL cornerback. And if this performance is any indication of his growth in his future, I kind of am excited to see him and AJ Bouye as a cornerback tandem throughout the rest of the season once Bouye gets activated off the IR.
Right. Once it makes his job a little bit easier, he's going to flourish even a little bit more. And of course, no, I see it. Well, hold on. I'll go to you. I see Roy's comment. Is that what you're talking about? We got to do it.
We forgot about Mapletron.
Yeah, again, Mapletron, who I've got his stat line here: 4 targets, 4 receptions, 74 yards, 2 rushing attempts, 7 yards, another touchdown. All he does is score. Mapletron had another sick week. So, yeah, obviously we've got to give Roy his shine. And then he says, no love for Jamel Dean, Jack. What are you doing? Pick 6 on A-Raj.
It wasn't over. I only wrote down 1. Cody wrote down 2. You never came back to me for the offensive players. I was going to talk about Miles Sanders and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Mapletron. Roy, don't get all upset. You ain't here, so don't be trying to run the show. Okay?
Oh, Mrs. Countryman tuned in as well. Oh, here we go.
Oh, now I'm in trouble. Roy is one thing. I ain't trying to make her upset.
Right, yeah.
Jack, shut up so quick.
Yep,
backtracked immediately.
But no, all right. Jamal Dean is again was my superlative for this segment. In terms of because Carlton Davis didn't make I don't have it, but Carlton Davis didn't make the list, right?
No, no. Yeah, he had enough starts. The only cornerbacks was Murphy Bunting. I had him as number 1 for the Bucs, and I had Jamel Dean at number 2.
Yeah. And Jamel Dean really he's somebody that when I watched on film last year, I thought he was going to make a run at Carlton Davis for the number 1 cornerback slot. Carlton Davis has fit perfectly well into his own, but they're willing to kind of mix and match them depending on the matchup. Jamal Dean's a little bit longer, a little bit lengthier, a little bit more athletic in terms of deep speed. Carlton Davis is a little bit more physical. So they're willing to line those guys up and not completely have them follow, but they're willing to flip-flop them just depending on the matchup and not be scared to play them on opposite sides if need be. Carlton Davis balled out. He had five pass breakups. Carlton Davis and Jamal Dean lead the league, I think, coming into this weekend. It was a stat I heard. in pass breakups. But yeah, Jamal Dean had the basically game-changing pick six, one of 3 pick sixes in all of Aaron Rodgers' career. It is what basically propelled the Bucks to the win. Without that, I don't know if we would ever have been there. But again, he knew exactly where to be. He knew the route. If you listen, even Rodgers talked about it, that he called the route and knew, so he knew to jump on it because he had no help over the top, and he still bit down on that. If that would have been an option route and he had the chance to go over the top and he took it, then Jamal Dean would have got eaten up alive. But he is somebody who's really coming into his own. The Bucs secondary is something to not be slept on. Sorry there, Roy, but after the sad news of your boy Bush, the Bucs clearly have the number 1 defense in the NFL right now. Clearly.
Well, hey, we got a little time, so there's a fantasy question in the chat. Let's go ahead and get it out, right? Trey S. asks, full PPR, DeAndre Swift, Brandon Cooks, or Devin Singletary? Thanks, guys. Ugh, that's a rough one. Cooks has been DeAndre Swift, Brandon Cooks, or Devin Singletary, but Cooks looks like he's the new focus of the offense. Like the last 2 weeks without Bill there, he's absolutely taken over.
I dropped him like the day they fired B.O.B. or freaking Billy O, whatever you want to call him. And, yeah, I'm regretting that now.
I don't know. I think I'm riding Cooks till the wheels fall off right now.
Yeah. And then also there's a report that all Texans wide receivers are on the trade block. So
yeah, that's why not. So.
But yeah,
Jack, Roy says no team with creamsicle jerseys can ever have the number 1 defense. So there's that.
They don't have creamsicle jerseys. I don't even know what you're talking about. But
those
I'm
have
down.
been replaced by the
Brady.
manly pewter,
back,
Roy.
Baby.
Pewter is manly now.
When I play Madden, I always bring back those creamsicles. Always. I love them.
I bet, yeah. They were
just
flashing.
Update the logo. Put Brady's face right there.
Oh, yeah, totally. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Who cares? That's going to be the end of that quarter. Yeah, we got everything taken care of there. So let's go ahead then. And okay, I didn't even see the topic of overtime until right now, guys. So here we go. We're going to hit overtime for you. Scariest team 500 or below. Again, we are going to accept teams that are 500. I'm going to tell you this. It's going to come from the AFC for me. The AFC feels better in the mid-tier than the NFC to me this year. Chargers? The Chargers. Let me do that. I'm going to take mine. I'm going to take the Chargers right here because the way Herbert's been balling out, I would have easily thought any of those games would have been won by them, and they're just a fraction of a hair off from being a good team. So I'll take the Chargers. I'll take the low-hanging fruit there, even though they are only at 1-4. Jack, what do you think? Scariest team at 500 with Halloween right around the corner?
All right, so you actually took my pick because I was going to say the Chargers. They've lost or won by 1 score or less in every game. So they could definitely turn it around and be a team to beat. I don't think it'll happen. I think just Justin Herbert's going to have quite a bit of ups and downs throughout the rest of the season, but they definitely do have the talent. They have a healthy Mike Williams. They have a healthy Keenan Allen. They have a healthy Hunter Henry. And they eventually get back Austin Eckler. This could be a scary team down the stretch. That's kind of what I was getting at when Ingram gets back to full strength and they have Bosa. This could be a team that could finally gel. Like with I mean, they've lost a lot of guys defensively, lost guys on both sides of the ball. But if they get healthy at the right time, that could be a scary team. So if I'm not going to go there, then I will go back to the NFC and I will say the San Francisco 49ers. I don't see. I didn't really. A week ago, I was like, all right, they're dead in the water. And then they come out and beat the Rams, who have had an easy schedule right now. I would say their 4 wins are against lesser talented teams.
Oh,
but
100%.
they were still a team to beat. And they came out and beat them handedly to prove that they're still the Niners. They just were not healthy last week. And, a team that's not healthy can only play up to the talent that they have. So I think the Niners are still a team to be reckoned with, and if they get the run game going with or without Raheem Mostert, this guy JaMychal Hasty I keep talking about, he's run pretty damn hard and has only got the ball in basically blowout situations, so he's been playing a loaded box. Wait till he gets the ball in open field and see what he can do. So I'm going to say the San Francisco 49ers. Their defense is getting healthy. They're going to have – I think they're going to get Richard Sherman back sooner or later. So –
I mean, yeah, their defense is still really, really good. Jimmy G's garbage, but I'll say that till the day I die. Cody, scariest team, 500 or below, my man.
Man, I'm going to go with my boy Matt Rule and the Panthers. We got to see them jump out to, the last 3 games they won. Now, they did lose this game to the Bears, but I think that was a sign that to all these people that were pointing that they won without Christian McCaffrey, that's the type of game you need Christian McCaffrey when you go against a stout defense against the Bears. It was a very close, tight game. I think maybe if you have a Christian McCaffrey in that game, the Panthers find a way to squeeze it out. Plus, to be fair, one of the reasons why I thought they would lose and I picked them to lose that game was they were going to be without Yetur Gross-Matos. They already lost Quan Short. Brian Burns was banged up heading into that matchup. So I didn't like the injuries heading into that matchup. But Yetur Gross-Matos will be getting healthy. So him and Brian Burns have been awesome to watch coming off the edge. Our boy Jeremy Chin, he's been, making a case for defensive player honors. They got Shaq Thompson. Derek Brown continues to dominate the interior of their defense. It sucks they lost Short, but they still got Shaq Thompson. Dante Jackson's playing pretty well. I'm just saying, I don't know if they're going to be like a team to that's scary. We're going to go win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. But I think that's going to be a team that you don't really want to face when you have playoff hopes, because they could potentially beat you because they're going to be trying to get squeezed into that wild card and be that team that potentially upset a team in the wild card. They're a team that say they would sneak in and face the NFC East. They could potentially make it to the the divisional round.
Oh my God! And here, check this out, Cody. Their last 3 games are going to decide the playoffs. I'm sorry, whether it's for them or not. They play the Packers, which is going to probably affect seeding. They play Washington football team, again, like we talked about earlier, which could help decide the outcome of the NFC East. And then they play the Saints in the last week, which could help decide where the Bucs land as well. So they've got a stupid, they're going to be that team you don't want to face. And especially once CMC comes back. I will say the Panthers are way better than I gave them credit for early in the season.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out this weekend, because if the Bucs can play defense like that every week, and if their offense can stay healthy and evolve, I think they're going to win the division. And I think it's going to come down to the Saints and the Panthers, who could be that second team that comes out of the South. And they play this weekend, so we get to see Teddy Two Gloves, maybe enact some revenge, saying, "Haha, maybe you should have kept me instead of Taysom Hill."
Well, that seems obvious to me. That seems mass obvious to me. So, let's look at the other teams that fall in here and see if there's any that you do fear. The Patriots, obviously, you've still got Belichick there. The Broncos still have a lot of pieces on offense to be competitive. The Bengals, Joey B. The Texans still have Deshaun Watson. I mean, go ahead.
I know I've kind of been talk heavy the last couple of minutes. I know Jack probably has some. But yeah, one thing I want to say, didn't I not say before the season that the Bengals were going to be a feisty team to play against this year? And they have literally been in every game. It feels like they're the Chargers.
They were in every game last year, too. And again, that's something you brought up. But they were in every game last year. It's not like they are a team severely lacking of talent. They have some really strong positional groups, primarily the wide receiving core, but they have decent players everywhere. They're not, bringing out scrubs. They're not completely.
They're not going to be a walkover. That's all.
They're never going to be a walkover. I think they're another team that's basically been in the running for every one of their games. Maybe minus the Ravens game, they've been in every single game. Yeah, every game has been a score or less minus the Baltimore Ravens, which the Baltimore Ravens are going to beat the shit out of every bad team they face.
Yeah, they get the job done.
They will not be good teams.
they're going to be a team I think where we're going to be really high on if they hit right in the draft this year, and maybe they string like a few wins at the end of the season. Excited about their future. I like EJ moved the sticks. He said today, like with the Bengals, like yeah, like losing these close games suck, but for you already knew you weren't going to make the playoffs this year. So if you can just look good in losses, and then you get Penei Sewell to help fix that line, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, 100%. A couple teams that I'm looking at as I've gone through these that I don't think are 1-5 talents. The Vikings and the Falcons. Do you guys have any, inclination that maybe they can go on a run and be competitive here? Because talent-wise, neither one of them should be that bad.
No. And I think on any given week, either of those teams can beat any team in the NFL, period. Like, I really do think that when the Falcons are on, at least offensively, they can match firepower and match score for score with anybody in the league. Will that help now that, Cutter has free reign of the offense and Morris has kind of like complete control of the defense? Maybe, yes, no, I don't know. Like, I don't know what this is going to mean. Obviously, the first game away, you finally see Julio Jones score more than one touchdown. Like, that's nice. It's appreciative that he, finally gets into the end zone and can put up points without Dan Quinn. I think they're probably going to be a team, just like we seen last year. They get hot late. They're always a team that finally will put it together. They have a ton of firepower. Same with Minnesota. They have a ton of firepower, but their secondary is extremely young. They haven't been able to put it together defensively yet. Without Dalvin Cook, that's another big loss for them, for Minnesota. Until they get him back, I don't think they're really going to be as scary as we would like them to be. But the Falcons, I really do think that maybe minus one or two teams, they can beat anybody. They can probably beat 30 out of 32 teams on any given Sunday.
Right, because they can just hang points when all is going right. So,
yeah.
A countryman is involved here. The man doesn't know how to rest. He said the Eagles.
To bed.
Yeah, go to bed, Roy.
Like you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, we just can't stay away from each other, even if we're dead.
Yeah, even if I'm half dead, I'm here. The Eagles, if they can get some offensive weapons healthy, could be scary because they can get after the QB, he says. And then he goes on to say he thinks that Cincinnati has a brighter future and that as a Steelers fan, he fears them more than the Browns if Baker's the quarterback for the next 3 seasons, which I actually fully agree with. There's just something when I get a chance to watch Burrow play, right? And I'm not giving into the ADD and only watching Red Zone. The guy just looks the part. Like every single part of his game. It's like when I watched Peyton as a young quarterback or Andrew Luck as a young quarterback to just keep stroking the Colts fans' ego over here. But you just see greatness in Burrow, man. I'm with him. I think the Bengals are definitely the team over the Browns.
What scares me is that they're averaging 4 sacks a game, and Burrow can only last so long. I don't think Burrow is as strong or is as tough as Andrew Luck. It only took so many years before Andrew Luck was mentally broken. I'm not saying he's going to have the same injuries as Luck, though, but 24 sacks in only 6 games is quite a bit.
It is, man. But
I think Roy, the quarterback that Roy needs to fear is how long will Big Ben last, and that will really determine because Steelers might be at the bottom if they don't figure out the future of the North.
What? You don't think Mason Rudolph is the future of the North? Come on.
Dwayne Haskins, bro.
Dwayne Haskins, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about that, Roy? Dwayne Haskins to the Steelers.
Yeah, well, I'll wait on that response. I know it's coming. Roy, type in chat what you think of DH to your Steelers, and we'll get that idea out here before we're done. One more scary thing I want to talk about here. Roy was quick with that when he says no Haskins,
No Haskins.
with many exclamation points. His wife says, "Way to poke the bear."
Now I upset her.
Yeah, we've ruined it now. One more scary thing here.
Go ahead.
With Halloween around the corner, that's why we're going scary. How scary bad are the Jets? We know they're not winning currently, but the point differential is the worst in worst in history, right? Both those other two teams went 0-16. Was that the stat I saw, Cody?
It was the other teams that went 0-16 through their first 6 games. The Jets have a worse point differential
by a
They have
mile.
negative 110. I can find the tweet really quick if you guys
Yeah,
wanna,
for sure. But the Jets are historically bad, right, Jack? Like, I mean, outside of Mekhi Becton, I don't give a shit about any Jet, like, at all. They're all bad.
Again, like I will keep my scout cap on and say that they stick with Sam Darnold and try to put a team around him before they go and do anything else, but they only have a few years to put a team around him. So then they'd have to pay him, and he's not a proven quarterback yet, so you kind of have to move on sooner or later. But I don't blame Sam Darnold for how shitty the Jets are. Let me put that. I didn't like Sam Darnold coming out of USC. I don't like any USC quarterbacks coming out of USC, not named maybe Carson Palmer. But I did not like what I seen on film from Sam Darnold, but he could still make every freaking throw. So, like, I invite quarterbacks to prove me wrong and prove that you can stop making throws to the other team, stop making terrible decisions. But he may be ruined by now being behind that Jets offensive line and being, surrounded by a complete depletion of talent.
Oh, yeah, because the beat dog cowers, man. That's just how life is. So, again, I don't think I've ever seen a team as bad. And I watched that 0-16 Detroit team. They're nowhere near as bad to me as this Jets team.
That team was putting up a fight. The Jets have no fight in them whatsoever.
It looks like they don't even care to play anymore. We're 6 weeks in. It feels so. As again, somebody who watched that Lions team.
Here it is.
Okay, Cody, hit me with it.
All right, so the 2008 Lions point differential in the first 6 games, negative 90. The 2017 Browns, negative 63. The Jets, negative 110. So by 20 points over that Lions team.
Whew. Gross.
It's
They're
bad.
that bad. They're bad. Roy goes on to say that Sam Farnold will be the second coming of Ryan Tannehill. And yeah, I did mispronounce that, even though you fixed it in the chat, Roy. Sam Farnold, second coming of Ryan Tannehill.
Roy needs to give up on that Costello train. That ended like 3 weeks ago.
Hey, that Costello train came hot off the gate. I was all on that. Oh, shit.
Oh, man. Well, we got 10 seconds here left, fellas, so I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to chitty chat these last 5 seconds. And I want to thank everybody in the chat. This has been the most active chat and the most fun. So the more we get of that, the more I like that. So that'll do it as we wrap up overtime. I'm going to turn the floor over to Jack and Cody to say their goodbyes. Jack, whenever you're ready.
All right, I will throw this out outside of just the Prospect Encyclopedia. Guys, take care of your pets. I just lost mine the other week. I finally got her back, and some random stray who's laying right next to me right now just showed up at my house. So take care of your pets, take care of your animals, spay and neuter, obviously, all that good stuff. But don't be afraid to go help out and donate at your local shelter. On top of that, though, go make sure you get your Prospect Encyclopedia. That is at blitzlytics.com/shop. You can get your digital copy for only $15, your team copy for $5, or this big, beautiful 418-page piece of just solid, jam-packed full of information for $35 at blitzlytics.com/shop. Target, Target as they call it, everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, you name it. It's available. It's there. Go buy it now.
Like a single man in a bar, it is available. Cody, turn the floor over to you, man.
Cody at a bar. Hey.
There you go. Hey, you see them up there, ladies.
I like to have you already know, like I like to have a good time. People that see me at these league events. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and Jack already pushed the book. So what I'll push is, if you like the show tonight, please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when our shows go live. Of course, tomorrow morning, right, Rob? We're good?
Yeah,
good to go?
We're good to go.
Yeah, so tomorrow morning, Fantasy Voyage at the same time as usual, around that 10 to 11 hour. I'll be back on Friday. Hopefully my apartment doesn't knock on the door this time during a live recording, because that was sweet. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when we go live. But as always, as I say, if you ever have to miss an episode, come back to the YouTube channel. You can watch it, or the audio eventually will be uploaded to our Blitzalytics podcast network. All major platforms you can think of: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, you name it. You just search us on Google, and there will be a number of places you can find us at. And then other than that, go to blitzalytics.com, check out all of our articles and content. You always see a weekly Bucks article from me on there. And then, Cody Talks NFL Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. hour, I'll be on there doing my weekly previews. And then I think that's everything I have to plug. So thanks for everybody tuning in, and you can follow me at Cody Talks NFL.
Boy, it makes my job easy to follow those fellas because I ain't got nothing left to plug. So I'll tell you, follow me at RobRob Graphics. Follow Jack at Jack Bourgeois, JackBooshwa. You can follow Cody at Cody Talks NFL. And you can follow Roy Countryman, who couldn't be with us tonight, at Preacher Boy Roy. And since he can't be here, we've ended every episode the same way. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to say it for him. Thank you first for tuning in to Football Happy Hour presented by Blitzalytics.com. But as always, stay humble and be a blessing.